Hey, and we're back. Whatever can will go wrong. My name is Michael Woodson, and it's a pleasure to finally be here. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another exciting live episode of the Hospitality and Tech Show, where hospitality meets innovation, and every story sparks the future. And just a reminder for everybody, we are live. We're right now on YouTube and also as LinkedIn. So make sure, drop your questions in the chat. We'll be answering a few towards the end, but please do so earlier, sooner rather than later. Yeah. So tonight's episode is going to be very powerful. And as we have been, steadily putting the word out, this industry is a changing, and it has. Um, Modern times becomes now modern applicability, and believe it or not, in 2025 in the hospitality industry, we are in those times. So we're diving deep into how technology is leveling the playing field in the hospitality industry, enhancing the guest satisfaction, boosting profits, and creating massive employee support across the industry. So now let me introduce you to tonight's incredible guest. I'm going to refer to as a visionary in our field of hospitality, Sue Graves. She's a hospitality executive turned entrepreneur and the dynamic founder and CEO of Experience Alive LLC, also known as SG Consulting. Through her firm, she sources, vets, and connects affordable and innovative tech solutions for the hospitality industry. So, welcome, Sue.
Pleasure to be here, Mike.
And we're happy, we're privileged to have you here. So, just for the audience, Sue's passion is unmatched. She has personally vetted nearly 400 technology solutions and counting, right? Um, from
Well,
labor optimization tools such as AI and ML to autonomous robots that assist with the delivery, security, and cleaning, helping reduce injuries and increase the guest satisfaction, all while protecting our people from repetitive tasks. No longer, as I mentioned to you when we were talking, gone are the days I put things up. I pick things up and I put them down, right? so,
yeah,
so welcome, welcome. Yeah.
it's a pleasure to be with
Want to
you.
add to that long? And by the way, she has an incredible bio. So I don't want to bore everybody with it because I just think that it's incredible. It's a lot, and she's done a lot. So Sue, welcome. Um, Anything you want to add? Again,
No, thanks, Mike. It's just a pleasure to be here and share some great technology solutions and help, drive adoption for the hospitality industry, which is so necessary right now.
so we're in an industry where, as you and I have spoken, it has evolved. We can clearly, agree on that, and the industry itself has transitioned, from the days of the pandemic to where we were to where we are now, rather, and certainly, pandemic is very what 2 3 years old, and we've accelerated. Where do you see how things have evolved? What is your point, and what do you see through your lens?
Well, I'll tell you what, when you talk about the pandemic times, I mean, you know, about 83% of the employees in the industry were lost. They left the industry. Our industry suffered greatly. We lost a lot of middle managers that were
Mhm.
promotable and would be the next leaders of our industry. And they many of them went off to other fields that were more stable at the time, and either started new careers. Some retired early, and all this took place. And that's what drove me and my passion to instill technology solutions. I mean, I said to myself, like, look, if there is somebody out there, there has to be people out there inventing new technologies to help modernize our industry. And if they're out there, I'm going to find them. And
Mm.
that drove my passion, drove me to interview over 400 companies in the last about 3 years. And I don't work with 400. I work with probably the top 20 to 30 that are making the biggest difference in the industry, have a quick ROI, easy to implement, affordable technology solutions that have a quick ROI. And those are spaces that we all need to be in right now. What can we do? What little thing can we do and implement tomorrow that's going to impact the employee satisfaction and the guest satisfaction and the bottom line. And all three can take place.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm striving to do. We have to have happy owners. We have to have happy guests. We certainly have to have happy employees, because if it isn't for the employees on the front line, being very, very happy and wanting to create memorable experiences for guests, we have nothing. Our industry is built on people.
And that leads me to a question about, it's built on people. But however, with modern technology, hotels are quickly adopting or attempting to, integrate robotic technologies, both whether you be serving you in the restaurant, delivering room service, even for cleaning the rooms. What's your feeling about that?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's necessary in many ways. There's a labor scarcity throughout the world, not just in the United States, not just in Boston, not just in Ohio. Um, we are struggling, and there is a great deal of competitiveness for top tier employees.
Hmm.
And if we want to compete, we've got to give our employees technology solutions that become companions for them, or helpers, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I use the terminology companion, may or may not resonate with people, but if you can imagine, a desk clerk answering the phone 75 times, with a necessary question that the guest has. What are your restaurant hours? How do you have a pool? Do you have jacuzzi? Do you accept pets? What are the pet fees? What are valet fees? Do you have valet? All these repetitive questions that are necessary for a guest
Hmm.
don't necessarily have to be answered by a human. So when you introduce technology into the playing field here that can speak in 40 different languages and 20 different dialects, responding to the guest immediately with a consistent response, by the way,
Hmm.
um, you're leveling the playing field. Number one, you're elevating the value of the associate immediately. Number two, you are elevating the guest experience immediately. All the guest wants to know is, what are the hours?
Right.
The
Right.
other thing we struggle with besides the labor scarcity is extremely high turnover rate. Our
Hmm.
industry experiences 5 times the turnover rate of any other industry, above 75%. The chances of you having the same employee check you in or clean your room the next time you come, it's going to be pretty rare. So,
Wow.
what are we doing to help support the decrease and minimize some of that turnover? We do that by adding value for our associates. If we can elevate their level of empowerment, what does that do for them personally and professionally?
Mm.
They are now utilizing critical thinking skills. They are exercising empathy. They are doing what they came into the industry to do, is help guests have an awesome experience in our industry, at the hotel, in the city, not answering these repetitive questions that are boring.
Well, one of the things that when you say that, and it has to do with also the changing dynamics of the guest, right? And what those expectations are repetitive. Every industry is going through it. Healthcare is going through that. There was repetitive questions when someone calls, right? And this is where artificial intelligence will enhance that experience. And one of the things in your bio, I'm sure you've been talking about AI, and what that means, and using machine learning technologies to the leadership, to the hotels. How's that going? What's your perception on that? What is that?
Well, it's going well. I will tell you that adoption is slower than I would expect. These are
Mhm.
super affordable solutions. Conversational AI can offload a minimum of 50% of repetitive questions off the front desk.
Mhm.
Now, what does that do to the guest experience and the employee? It elevates both
Right.
to a higher level of service, a higher level
Mhm.
of empowerment for employees, a higher level of satisfaction for employees and guests. When you can offload some of this repetition. So conversational AI is amazing. Not only that, most of the conversational AI solutions actually can, have a display. So if you're transferring a call, now you see what the conversation looked like as you transfer the call. So now you're picking up where somebody left off rather than starting over and having the guest tell the story from the start. You can it's like a runner passing a baton in a race where you have a 400 and you're passing it every four times,
Hmm.
flawless passing the baton. You have all the information in front of you.
So let's frame that the landscape, and let's go over to that. And that's a couple things. Number one, in hand, by adopting this technology, you're able to reallocate that individual and also enable their ability to use their critical thinking skills somewhere else that will further benefit the the guest. But how has the role of technology in hospitality evolved over the past 5 to 10 years? What's your take on that? When are you seeing that?
Well, I'll tell you what, there are a lot of new novel technology solutions. However, there are some that have been around a long time. Conversational AI is not new. It's just become more affordable and it's become better. It's become faster. It's become more empowering. The use cases are multilingual. I mean, these are all benefits of an industry that operates globally
Hmm.
and has a variety of visitors that are global visitors, and you have to be able to respond in their language if you can. And these new technologies can do that. And as you indicated previously, Mike, I mean, we are now escalating or reallocating valuable resources. Right, our most valuable resources are labor. How do we reallocate that most valuable resource to a higher level to make a higher impact for our industry? And that's what we need to be focused on. And so adopting these, technology solutions is primary to our success and to the industry as a whole.
Hmm. One of the things is that this summer, with the travel, although we have some issues of people coming from Europe and coming from Canada, that's dropped off somewhat. But we have a well diverse, whether you're coming to Boston, New York, Chicago, or any of the major cities, I think of the concierge concept. Where's this? Where's that? And that concierge having to be able to speak multiple languages. This is where that AI technology that can come in, where it'll identify the individual and it'll be able to speak to them in their language. What's your thought on
Absolutely.
that? What's your thought on that?
Well, I mean, it's empowering, honestly. The guest is currently, what are they doing now? They're using Instagram. They're using technology solutions now to help them get around the city, right?
Hmm.
They're going on Instagram and they're looking at reels. Where's this person been? There are people they're following. This is happening now. They're googling things. They're using Chat GPT. So what happens when you put it all in one place? And
Hmm.
you can call it a virtual concierge. You can also call it an empowering opportunity for a concierge to be able to share something. The people part of it, right, doesn't go away, but also what can they do to what are they doing and what can they do to share a more empowering experience for a city,
Hmm.
and know exactly what is going on no matter where you want to go. And we talk about personalization and hyper personalization a lot. Frankly, we can just look at personalization as overall.
Hmm.
A virtual concierge can personalize the stay because the guest is specifically saying, "Hey, I'm a hiker. I'm looking for, places where I can do some hiking. Can you tell me some of the trails that are available nearby or within a 45-minute drive?" And
Hmm.
that AI can put it all together for you in a package and send it to you immediately within seconds. This
Hmm.
isn't something where you have to wait for somebody to pick up a phone and call. This is, and I'm just using the hiking as an example, but you know, I'm, I'm a wine connoisseur. I'm looking for some special places where I can try new wines. Can you, tell me of a few places in the area that where I might be able to meet my passion and, and
Hmm.
find those experiences. And those virtual concierge can do that pretty in seconds, and you
Right.
can do by voice. You don't have to type it in even. You can do it by voice.
Wow. Well, one of the things that I envision, imagine city of New York. I mean, you would show Broadway shows, restaurants, etc. Imagine someone picks up the phone, from their cell phone. I want to see what the show at such and such is playing, and I need 4 tickets. Wouldn't it
Yep.
be nice for AI go out, make the reservation, boom, boom, boom. Your tickets are available. This is the cost, boom, boom, boom. And would you like to purchase them? Boom. And already, because you have a profile, your credit card is on file, so they'll be able to hit that. Would you like us to, would you like to purchase it, Michael? Yes. And it will do it for you and
Yeah.
send you a confirmation. You're all set. No, just instant from your mobile device, reservation made, ticket sent to you. All right. Already. And if you were even further advanced, would you like us, the AI would say, would you like us to put it in your wallet? Boom. How convenient, right? That
Yeah, and imagine for cities and destinations as a whole utilizing this. I mean,
Right,
imagine
buying
the
into that
economy, growing
concept.
economy because of it, you know?
Exactly. And so you would look at that, and I envision that that would be an ecosystem that you would buy into, but on both parts, the individuals, the guest experience would be enhanced, and therefore you're not waiting on the phone, you're not on hold, you know the availability, tickets available, and even it might even ask you, would you like to see a visual of what it looks like? Yeah,
Right.
boom, right on your phone. So you have that, and or you can describe to the automation what what types of seats you're looking for if you're in a
Exactly.
state of travel. So things like that, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a Broadway play, transportation, anything in an urban city that's playing, are things that, would you like to hear anything else? Those are the things where that virtual concierge experience, guest experience can be enhanced. I'm hoping one day that it gets there. So let's talk about this. And this is kind of a kind of odd question for you. All right. So when you got into this industry, you mentioned it. Have you now, here we are, fast forward to 2025. What are some gaps that you're seeing?
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I see gaps in a couple different ways. We previously spoke about this, but I see a gap with what the guests expect
Hmm.
and a gap between the delivery and available of delivery uh, that is not there for the hotel. So guests are using their phones and they are using technologies already. They already
Hmm.
have the robot vacuums in their homes. I mean, this is you gone are the days where you went to a hotel to find the best technology. Like that was kind of cool. You know, you'd walk into a hotel and you'd see something new and you'd be like, "Oh, wow, we don't have this at home."
Hmm.
Well, now it's backwards now. You have all this stuff at home already, and you go to a hotel, and it's like you're going back in time almost. So the advancement of technology has to step up in hotels and
And that's
resorts.
going to be that's investment. And so,
It's an
whatever,
investment.
and they have to be willing. Are you seeing that, for example, how that taking place? And one of the questions I wanted to ask you earlier, how can emerging tech mail, I- in fact, let me rephrase that. How can emerging tech make it independent hotels and restaurants more competitive with large chains? What investments do they need to make?
Yeah, I'm telling you, when I talk about leveling the playing field, independent hotels used to be behind, but they have an opportunity to be in the same game as large hotel chains because technology, one thing that's advanced more than anything is the affordability of technology.
Mm,
LLMs are extremely affordable now. Conversational AI should be in every single hotel. It takes, you can, how many guests are calling because they need a copy of their folio? Conversational AI can access the folio and send it to the guest without a human involved. Okay? All the guest wants, think about it. All I want is my folio. I don't want to be transferred to accounting and be put on hold. The average wait time is 6 minutes. Who wants that? Like we
they don't.
have to step up in our industry. And these are super affordable solutions that are adding value to the industry and adding value to the guest experience and empowering employees. The other gap I see is the gap with employee expectations. What employees are learning now, either by themselves, YouTube University, everything else, Instagram, Snap, you name it, all the stuff that they're learning now, and in school, colleges and otherwise, they are technology advanced already. And then we bring them into our workforce and we tell them to use an Excel spreadsheet or do this manually, or our procurement. When you go down to get 2 cans of tomatoes, you got to write it on this sheet on the wall. I mean, if you can imagine the employees going, "What? We're doing that?" So yes, there is a gap. It's employee gap, and there's a customer gap, and we have to step up. And that's why I've gone out and found solutions that can close that gap, close it quickly, close it affordably, and bring an ROI to owners.
Mm.
I want more owners owning hotels. I want more owners buying hotels. I want more owners being happy, because if we have more happy owners, guess what? We have more happy guests and we have more employees put to work, right?
Hmm.
So have to make this work, and all of those can work together very, very well.
I agree. And so, hey, let's take a moment, and I totally forgot, so please forgive me. And by the way, those joining us live, just want to mention we're sponsored by IBM. One of the we can't do this. We're a nonprofit organization here, where we are keeping building that bridge between hospitality and technology together. Focusing really on the students and as you transition into it. But IBM's been grateful to us with a grant, and also David from Montgomery College. We want to thank you for your donation. So, thank you very much. And that's Danny Barnett as well as IBM. We want to thank you as well. One of the things that we have students that are listening, and we want to make sure that you've just been an inspiration. But can you stop by why don't you talk about your incredible journey from Marriott to founding experience alive, and what inspired you to make this leap into entrepreneurship? Yeah, it's another thing
Well,
to work in a hotel, but you found a niche. You might inspire somebody. Might want to say, "I want to be just like Sue." So yeah, why don't you start with that?
well, I'll tell you what, I'm driven by passion every day. I'm driven by passion. I started in this industry as a housekeeper. I put myself through college waiting on tables. I mean, I've been part of this industry my entire life.
Hmm.
And, the passion, just continues to pursue excellence. Mr. Marriott always, you drank the Kool-Aid when you joined Marriott. And I worked for that great company for almost 29 years.
Wow.
I went to the convention center industry in 5 different brands, went to the convention center industry. And it was during that time of the pandemic, and I was cleaning 200 toilets a day, and my friends in the industry were calling me quitting. And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're leaving?" And they're like, "I can't take it anymore. I can't work
Yeah.
19 hours a day. There's me and the engineer working. I'm out. Thank you so much for, being a great boss, or, for being in my life and being in my career." And my heart just like, I literally, just my heart went out to the industry and to these people like, "Oh my gosh, we're losing so much thought leadership. This can't happen. There have got to be
Mhm.
solution providers out there creating things for the industry. And if they're out there, I'm going to go find them." And that's what I did. Because it was pandemic times, I was able to watch, you know, be on tech shows throughout the world and watch, investors speak about new technologies. I was able to witness pitch competitions around the world. That was a great, awesome time in my life to be able to bring forward and interview these solution providers if I thought that they had value for our industry. And to be honest with you, some of them, when I contacted them, I'm like, "I know you're not speaking about hospitality, but have you ever thought about, utilizing your solution in hospitality?" And they're like, "No, like, how do you see that as a fit?" And then I would tell them how I saw their solution as a
Wow.
great fit for hospitality. And they were like, "Will you help us?" And I'm like, "Yes, I will help you. You have a great solution. We need to be implementing this in our industry." And I would help them with their roadmap, or I'd help them wherever they were in their course of their roadmap,
Mm.
to make their solution better, so that I could help them make connections in our industry. And so I'm just driven by passion for modernizing this industry and keeping it thriving, not just surviving. I feel like we're kind of just surviving right now. We've got this labor shortage. I got owners cleaning rooms. I'm like, oh my gosh, call me. I can have a 5-minute conversation, introduce you to 3 solutions that'll make you money tomorrow. Elevate the customer experience, elevate and save our employees from the high turnover at over 75%. The cost of turnover for a hotel is about $10,000 an employee.
Wow,
That's a lot of money
it is.
in an
So
industry. Yeah.
we got to turn that around. But what technologies have you directly improved the guest experience in recent years that may contribute to making that experience for guests and we'll get to the employee in 1 minute. But what technologies have you seen? You mentioned that.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot. But I know I focus a lot on conversational AI just because it can offload so many
Hmm.
repetitive tasks. Um, Onboarding is another one. Very, very, very laborious process,
Hmm.
lengthy process. And frankly, whoever gets to the employee first usually wins, right? That best employee is being sought after by more than our industry. They're being sought after by the healthcare industry and by many,
Yes.
many other industries that
Yes.
are searching for the very best candidate. So if you can get to the candidate fastest, you win. There's a conversational AI solution that can cut onboarding time 80%. And there's a hotel that, out west, a very large hotel that had to hire 6,500 people. They expected 80,000 applications. You know how many they got, Mike? They got 320,000 applications.
Wow. Wow.
They sourced
Through
and
through
hired
technology.
500 people out of that 320,000 utilizing conversational AI in under 120 days.
Wow.
This would not happen if you just threw human capital at it. And you would imagine the inconsistency of the interviews.
Wow.
So conversational AI levels the playing field in many ways because it drives consistency. It drives consistency in responses. You're training the LLM model on your culture. So if you add a bunch of people, right, humans to do the hiring process and they aren't bought into your culture, what do you think happens when you open the hotel? You have inconsistent application of something most important, which is driving culture. Culture beats strategy every day of the week in hospitality.
Well, when you look at and you're right, it's all about the culture because that gives you that employee loyalty as well, and also that culture emanates and leads to also a great a guest experience,
Yep.
and also garners loyalty to that culture. Because of that, you create an ecosystem of being part of the family, members of the club, and so we hear the stories of this loyalty program versus this who has the better loyalty program. I mean, there's always this event every year where they measure that. And one of the things that I have learned is that you've got to listen to your customer. You have to listen to your employee. And if you don't listen, no matter how minute it is, and make that change and make them feel, then loyalty is going to go out the door. They're going to go somewhere else where they can be listened to, where they can be appreciated. So those types of things. I do have a question. This has always been something a pet peeve, and it's been some like it and others don't. What about the mobile check-in concept? Checkout. We talked earlier about nobody wants to waste their time at the desk and asking $1 million questions. But what about checking in, checking out? That you know influence. Does that influence guest satisfaction there? Making it easier with that mobile check-in, check-out concept.
I think it can make it easier. I did not have a great experience when I was in my latest city trying to mobily check in because the name on the reservation did not match my driver's license.
Mm,
So, from a technology perspective, I understand why everything is supposed to match technologically, but the simplest thing, instead of Susan Graves, which is on my driver's license, my reservation said Sue Graves. And because of that, I
wow.
couldn't mobily check in. I had to go wait in line. So, this is where we have some technology hiccups. Um, I don't know if that can be changed. I do think that if everything matched, it's definitely easier, faster. You got your key and you go. So I'm giving both sides of the story because when it doesn't work, it can be a negative um, guest experience. And for me, it was a negative guest experience. I stood in
Mm.
line to get to the machine, and then found out that I couldn't use it the way I wanted to. So then that other line was building, and I had to stand in another line. So
Wow.
that I'm not sure where we need to go with that. I just know that that has to get fixed.
I think the audio, the perfection of that, and the flavor of AI as it gets stronger, of being able to logically figure out that this could be you and given options, and for the person who's validating you. I think
Yeah.
that the methodology has to be looked at in advance to definitely authenticate you. So by the time you got to that hotel, you have been fully vetted and authenticated, and you're just coming in and putting in, say, a code, something that you have that was given to you by the hotel, and off you go with your device into your
Well, if
phone.
you think about going through TSA, your name, it's not about your name, and it's the identity is a facial recognition.
Hmm.
I look the same, my face and my hair look the same as my driver's license or close enough. there there could be some facial recognition adopted to help
Yes.
smooth that. That's what I kind of envision, so to speak, no pun intended, but for the future is, what does facial identification look like, or a thumbprint or blockchain technology. I mean, this is where the future is going. If all this stuff is on the blockchain, there would be no issues at all because it would be consistent and it would follow you. You would have a digital trail of your persona, and that would
Most
follow.
likely. Yeah, and using biotechnology, I think they'll evolve to that to some degree. Facial recognition is, the travelers getting used to that. TSA has introduced it, so I
Yep.
think that you become a norm. Then once it'll feed over to other parts of the hospitality and travel industry. Yeah, and so with that about feedback, it says you've had that problem. How do you think hotels are using that guest feedback tools or real time surveys to drive service improvements? Do you think that that's something that they need to take a look at? Have they adopted that? Is that something that you think is like not being leveraged? Thoughts?
I think there can be improvement everywhere. Okay. So I'm not saying it's not being leveraged, but gone are the days where you get a survey 2 days after you get home, right?
Mm,
We need in-stay survey capacity to be able to respond to customer issues immediately. That tells a great story of hospitality too. Like, hey, Mr. Smith, I noticed that you had a you let us know of a problem with your room, whatever that case may be. Um, I'm here to assist you. I mean, AI can do that as well, to help respond to a guest concern. So yeah, I do think that technology does exist. I'm not sure that is being leveraged to the extent that it should
mm,
be leveraged. And we need to get rid of the technology that has post stay. Well, maybe not get rid of, but I think in stay is much more important than post stay because
it
you can do
is.
something about it when the guest is there.
Well, one of the things is that it would be nice to somehow to have something call the guest, whether it be on their mobile device, in their room, or something comes in their room that says welcome. Um, me personally, I would like to have a smart room. I open the door, I close the door, and it just welcome, Michael, welcome to room, and with a message from the GM, general manager, or someone. I'd like to welcome you back. We've made available this to you, and kind of like your in-room concierge that has prepared your room for you upon arrival, right? And that's something that or technology. I think that hopefully we'll get there. We'll get to that part. All right.
Yeah,
Let's
that
leave.
personalization does exist with conversational AI. It sure
Mhm.
does. Yeah.
So let's go on to this one where we're enhancing the guest satisfaction since we're talking about that. So, what role does automation play in creating what we call a seamless guest experience? And you talked about conversational AI, you talked about, but is there anything that you can add that, what role does automation play in creating a seamless guest experience?
Well, a couple right off the bat. Consistency,
Mm,
okay, because you're getting a consistent response. which negates the turnover, right? We cannot possibly hire people, train them to know every single thing about our hotel, and every idiosyncrasy that takes place. Hotels are very special. They have the special qualities. No two hotels are alike, no matter what. So now you're driving consistency, a consistent response to the guest. You're giving guests a better experience because they're getting that answer quicker. And also, you're elevating the employee. You're empowering the employee to elevate their value, right? And focus on the empathy and the guest experience rather than the repetitive questions. So
Hmm.
those two ways are ways that provide seamless, where technology can provide a seamless experience and improve the experience overall.
Okay. Well, one of the things we, again, people, process, technology, right? All
Yep.
together. But let's talk about profitability. That's important to the business. And as you know, as we came out of the pandemic, we lost some hotels. Some have changed. Some have consolidated. Many have benefited. Some have been impacted. And so changing in terms of profitability models, the technology going from a capex to an opex model for budgeting. So how can technology help hotels and hospitality businesses increase their profit margins? What do you see there?
So technology can increase profit margins in many ways. There's a chemical solution. Actually, it's not a chemical solution. It's a cleaning solution that uses ozonated water that can cut chemical expenses 30 to 40% on average. Okay. And it's ozonated water. Okay. So now you're eliminating chemicals, which tells a sustainable story, which is another piece that we need to be talking about in our industry. Sustainability, driving sustainability efforts in our industry will have an immediate ROI and add value to the asset. And that's huge. And I know we didn't get into sustainability, but it is huge. There is a technology solution can reduce utility costs using API integration with almost
Hmm.
every single thermostat company. You don't have to replace the thermostat and put holes in walls. It can save 35 to 40% utility cost. It integrates with the API integrates with the fan motor in the air conditioner, and can sense whether somebody is in the room or not and
Hmm.
adjust accordingly, saving a lot of utility expenses. And New York specifically has Local Law 97, which any building over 50,000 square feet, which equates to every single hotel, has to report their carbon emissions on a monthly basis. And those
Wow.
have to fall within a certain level or they get fined. So solutions like this tell a compelling story for not only sustainability and reduction of carbon emissions, but you can have both. You can have sustainability and you can have profitability. And I am trying to be a myth buster on that one too, because I've got at least three solutions that can cut costs and tell a sustainable story.
And that kind of knocks out one of my questions I was going to talk about. What tech tools help reduce operational waste and efficiencies? And energy is certainly that. The lights and really is the person there, shuts it down. The TV, that's one of the things that, yeah, I'm guilty of leaving the TV on before I leave the room. So things like that, being able to shut it down, person's on the room, you're able to just shut the electricity off, shut the TV off, shut the lights off, etc. Reduce the energy, the temperature in the room to sufficient levels, and yeah, that's waste, and managing that waste. So with that said, what about how? In what ways can things like data analytics support better revenue management? What do you think about that one? Okay.
So, AI and machine learning can pull data from multiple sources now and put it in one place for you, called a
Mhm.
dashboard, right? So you can make much more informed decisions now based upon the data that is collected for you autonomously and put in a dashboard. You're still making the decision as a human, right? But now you have data that you haven't had to pull, which takes
Mhm.
an enormous amount of time. So if you can utilize the the companion, the AI ML that can pull the data for you and put it in a dashboard for you, and then you as the human make the decisions appropriate to the information that is supplied to you, you've just saved a ton of time and you're probably making better decisions,
Mm.
which,
That's
which increases profitability and
right.
revenue.
You know, and when we look at it, and it varies across the different sizes of hotels, whether it be small, medium, large organizations. And this kind of brings into another one question: can small and mid size operators afford revenue management technology?
They
And is
can.
it worth the investment to them?
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And many of these solution providers, have stages. You don't have to go all in on what a full service hotel or resort would want. They oftentimes will have stepping stones. Like, it looks like
Mm.
you might only need this. Well, we can provide that dashboard for you at a more affordable price than buying all the bells and whistles you don't need. So, solution providers have come a long way in integrating and making applications that apply to select service hotels versus independent hotels
Hmm.
versus resorts versus full service. Used to be by, one package and that's it. But now they've become a lot more uh, diverse, if you will, in the platforms that they are offering a variety of hotel owners, small, medium, and large.
Yeah, but and one of the things that you're seeing, as I mentioned earlier, OpEx versus capitalization and things, and that is a balancing act that many of the hotels are struggling with the adoption of new technology and the types of technology, and how they're able to, manage that cost of the technology. That's a huge problem, especially at the smaller levels, in the small hotels. So, with another question here, we're going to go back to that. You mentioned it about staff retention, right? Empowering employees. But in what ways does technology help with staff retention and morale? And you kind of touched base on it earlier, but let's revisit that.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. I mean, our employees are, if we really, in fact, view our employees as the most valuable asset in our facilities, we need to adopt technology faster to support them. They are overwhelmed. They get call offs. Now you're supposed to have three desk clerks. Now you got two. Imagine the amount of workload and the hours that people are required to work in this industry. It has gotten better, but if we are not adopting technology to help employees, we're doing a disservice for our employees
Mm.
and they're going to leave our industry. And so we've got to quit stressing out our employees when there are solutions that can help support them. So we need to view it that way. And that needs to be taught that way to the employees. Oftentimes, I think some employees are afraid that technology is going to take their job. Technology is not going to take your job. Here's what technology will do to support
Mm.
your role and to elevate your level. And if you want to grow in the company, we need you to learn critical thinking skills, learn empathy, not learn, but I mean, get better at empathizing. And critical thinking skills are a necessity as you grow and develop in the company to higher levels. So if we're not putting our employees in a position where they can train and develop those skills,
Hmm.
doing a disservice not only for the employee but for our organization itself.
Are you seeing any platforms that are supporting the employee development and training? Um,
Yes, absolutely. I've got a great one that uses AI ML to give feedback to employees based upon voice. Okay, so you can actually tell whether somebody's got a smile in their voice. AI can tell. And, there's a quick story here I'll tell you because I love storytelling, but the founder of this solution actually got into this because she was suffering from a brain injury herself and was recovering, and she began studying how the brain functions and what can improve brain health to the greatest extent, and it's repetition. Okay, and so her own personal story drove her to invent a solution for hospitality, which she was in many brands within the hospitality industry for 30 plus years in several brands, mostly in sales. But so utilized her as a solution in sales to help salespeople and others improve their level of service and their functionality 10 to 20 basis points. So oftentimes when a hotel gets in the red zone, that's because they have poor guest satisfaction. They don't have a good operation and they're about to lose their flag. So oftentimes people will call her and say, I need this solution immediately. And she can improve in under 90 days, can improve guest satisfaction by 10 to 20%. And this is employees taking this training on their own and getting feedback within minutes. Okay, now the feedback is objective, not subjective. Okay, and
Hmm.
so imagine the most that an employee needs right now is immediate coaching, training, and development. Guess what they're getting the least of right now? Coaching, training, and development. You know why? Because the supervisor's on the floor with them cleaning rooms, because the supervisor's at the desk checking people in. There's nobody really focused on this coaching, training, and development to the extent it needs to be, and allowing and empowering employees to take this training when they have time to do it. Gone are the days where you get 40 people in a room and say, okay, today we're going to learn about XYZ. Guess what? The chef's on his phone because he's got a lunch to prepare for 3,000 tomorrow. The housekeeper's got rooms to clean and she's trying to get home so she can pick the kids up from the bus. Nobody's paying attention. So if we can empower employees to utilize technology for training and development when they have time to do it on the job individually, and then that training is automatically documented and automatically goes into the ATS system, you don't have to have spreadsheets anymore in HR where the HR person's calling the chef saying, "Hey, John on the on the line, your cook hasn't taken steps 3, 4, and 5 of this training. We need it done by XYZ." The
Right.
chef should be focusing on coaching and training that employee to cook better, right? Cooking skills,
Mm-hmm.
not focused on all this other stuff. So when the employee can get pinged automatically, hey, you're behind on
Hmm.
level one of this section, you need to get this done. HR is not doing that. This is autonomously being done. And the employee can take this training in 3 to 5 minutes. It's all in bite-sized pieces now and complete the training when they have time to do so. They can do it as a group if they want it.
So this
So
is where micro learning now has come.
revolutionary things that are changing the
Mhm.
landscape of training and development that need to be instituted as well.
And this is where micro learning has come in. And
Absolutely.
that is an easier, a little bit inch by inch. It's a cinch, and they get the opportunity to kind of, learn things kind of over time instead of one big putting them in a room. With attention span that people may have some challenges. Whether it be because they've worked too much, etc. But the micro learning seems to be the effective way that most are going to. Which leads to another question about internal communication platforms. You know, designed to improve coordination in hotels and restaurants. Do you see that happening? And I know
I
you
don't
mentioned.
see it happening fast enough, and that's going to be a consistent story I'm going to be telling throughout this conversation, Mike.
Okay, that's
Um,
okay.
we still
So,
have bulletin boards with papers on them that are
wow,
old, right?
just as we
We're not
talked earlier,
updated.
yeah,
We're wasting a lot of print time. There
right.
are several communication platforms that can drive messaging from a CEO, messaging from a general manager, reminders, kudos for fellow employees. All of this can take place on an application that a company can adopt. And now you've driven consistency, you've driven employee engagement
Mm-hmm.
because they want to see, hey, am I going to be up there next? I got 100% on my room, or I got this or I got that. Digital tipping as well is huge. And I know I'm going in a different lane here, but when you talk
Hmm.
about communication and when you talk about what that looks like, I mean, less than 15% of the public carries cash anymore. So if you don't have digital tipping instituted in your hotel now, you're behind. Okay?
Hmm.
Because digital tipping can increase an employee's wage by a minimum of 29 to 39%. And guess what? It's not coming off your bottom line. All you're doing is you're empowering a guest to show generosity because you have a technology tool that they can utilize to show their generosity for a well cleaned
Hmm.
room and a friendly housekeeper.
Right, but you have to give them the vehicle to do so, to pay them.
And this is the power of technology.
Right. So let's talk about accessibility, equity, and innovation. And that kind of brings it into that spot. There's a question for you: how does tech help create equity between large chains and the independent operations?
Well, this is where leveling the playing field comes in. I mean, independent hotels can adopt digital tipping just as much as large
Mm,
brands. As a matter of fact, an independent hotel can adopt it much faster. Independent hotels actually have a leg up
mm,
on large brands because the institution of these technology solutions can happen so much faster, driving engagement so much faster, and retention of associates so much more because they don't have to go through approval processes of large chains.
right.
Large chains, they roll it out slow, methodical, and it takes a long time. And this is where independent hotels now have a leg up. They
Wow.
can adopt the same technology. They can do it less expensively, more affordably, and faster.
So what about, and with that said, small hotels can thrive, but how can tech level the playing field for underserved communities or regions? Is there anything just that usually you have a small hotel in those regions, not necessarily the big chains, but how can tech level the playing field?
Well, I mean, the same as an independent hotel. I mean, first and foremost, they have to have access to the education to be able to know. Everybody is so busy, and I say, everybody's in their hamster wheel, their cheese wheel, whatever you want to call it. You're rolling, rolling, rolling. You're not taking the time to step back and go, I
Mm-hmm.
wonder what's out there to help me. So
Right.
I'm encouraging people to call me. I will help you. This is my passion. Is I just can't help enough people fast enough. That's my biggest obstacle. I am pleased to hop on a phone and have a quick conversation about the biggest obstacles that you as an owner that doesn't know what to do to help elevate the ROI and elevate the guest experience and otherwise. I grew up in the industry, and the industry hasn't changed much, which is an advantage for me because as I try to modernize it, I can speak their language. I know
Mm.
exactly what's going on in housekeeping because I was a housekeeper.
Wow.
And I've worked almost every job in a hotel, so I understand from the ground level
Impressive.
to the corporate level what is happening inside a hotel chain, an independent hotel, and owners want ROI.
Well,
Guests
and
want
very
satisfaction, and employees want to stay.
mm. So as we wind down and coming up on 3 minutes, and what technologies are you most excited about for the next 5 years? I want you to just end that one question. Where do you see us going? We know where we've been, we know where we are, but what do you see in the next 5 years? What are you excited about?
I'm super excited about the opportunity to entertain blockchain technology. Security drives loyalty. It's a fact. As we digitize more, there's more opportunities for nefarious activity. So I work with a solution provider that imagine having your own web browser, not using Google, securing your data that nobody can hack. Security has to play a major role for the future, and there are security applications that are out there now that I work with that are supporting that. That drives loyalty. Nobody wants their data compromised. So that is the number one thing. Blockchain technology will help with security, and I'm excited about the opportunity to utilize cryptocurrency in the hotel industry.
Wow, that's a lot. Here's another one for you. How should business prioritize which technologies to implement first? Is there something that you want to just leave and say, this is the most important, crucial technology you should be doing to give you that foundation? What's one of the most important technologies?
I think conversational AI is probably the easiest to implement. There are free
Mhm.
solutions. Earned wage access is free. The solution provider I work with, this is easy to implement. Allows employees to utilize the money they earn the day they earn it if they need it. I need bus money. I need shoes for my kid. I got Halloween coming up. I need tissues for my kid to take to school. Sometimes you're standing, in a grocery store and you get $10, you're off. Well, you can access that wage your wages and pay that $10 and bring that food home to your children. So these are all things that are differentiating the very best hotel companies and independent hotels and organizations from those that are not adopting technology.
Well, and there you have it. Technology at its best here. And one of the things we try to bridge between the technology and hospitality. So, Sue, thank you for sharing your insights and your leadership and your passion. We really appreciate having you here. And for innovation and inclusion and hospitality excellence and your continuation of bringing bear the technology into the hospitality. And we really enjoyed tonight's discussion, and we've truly it's been very inspiring. So, thank you very much. And to our audience, if you're looking to bring your next level tech solution to your property or your organization, make sure you visit experiencealive.com and follow Sue's work both on LinkedIn. And this episode, it will be available to the industry, to those out there. Tell a friend, share it, forward it. It'll be available for replay on our YouTube channel and LinkedIn channels as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us for more thought leadership and technology uh, forward conversations. Again, thank you to all of you. Thank you, Sue. We are so grateful to you. Thank you for joining, being
Thank
here.
you so much. And on LinkedIn, I'm the lady in the red dress.
All right, the lady in the red dress. I love that. And
Okay.
so
We
until next
love
time.
to help you. So call me. I'm happy
Well,
to
we
help.
we hope to have you back. All right. Thank you very much, and have a good week. Next time we will see you again. Innovate in hospitality.
Thank you so much.